Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? I hope you're well. Happy Friday. No one is here yet, so I can't do a mic check. But if you join later and you can hear me, I don't know how. Well, I guess, yeah. Oh, there's three of you now. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, drop a one in there. If you cannot hear me, drop a two in there. But I'm going to get right into it because Judge Kraynick has been busy this Friday afternoon, and looks like he's going to let them move forward. But let's dissect it together. Okay, I got ones. Let's dissect it together, make sure I am interpreting it correctly, or if you guys have a different interpretation, I definitely want to hear about it. Okay. Actually, I'm going to put myself in the corner so we can see more of it. Put baby in the corner. Okay. Let's see. Could I get a little bit bigger? There we go. So it's dated today, 1:05:42 p.m., 9/20/2024, state of Florida, Sarah Boone. Order on state's motion to strike defendant's notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome, and state's motion in limine, and state's motion for examination by state expert, and order on state's motion to strike defendant's amended notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome. So basically, the first order that James Owens filed, and the second order where he added the more witnesses, including Brian Boone and the 4 LEO, and then also the first motion to strike that the state, they had the in limine in there. So all of that. This cause came before the court on September 19th, 2024, on state's motion to strike defendant's notice. I'm not going to read that all over again. The court, having reviewed the motion, having reviewed the response, having reviewed the amended motion, having reviewed the court file, having considered the authorities and arguments offered by the counsel for the state, and having considered the authorities and arguments offered by counsel for defense, finds as follows. This matter is set for trial on October 7th, 2024. See the court's scheduling order and notice of hearings entered August 5th, 2024. I.e., Mr. Owens, you do not have to count the days every time you're in front of me. I'm well aware of when the trial is set for because I, Judge Kraynick, said it. On September 6th, defendant filed that certain notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome. The notice provides a statement of particulars showing the nature of the defense, battered woman syndrome, as a result of the physical and psychological abuse the defendant sustained at the hands of the alleged victim, George Torres, and the name and address of a witness, Dr. Julie Harper. On September 6, 2024, the state filed the motion. On September 13th, defendant filed the response. On September 15th, 2024, defendant filed that certain amended notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome. The amended notice, among other things, provides the same statement of particulars showing the nature of the defense as the notice. Battered spouse syndrome as a result of the physical and psychological abuse the defendant sustained at the hands of the alleged victim, George Torres, and the name and address of 6 witnesses. On September 19th, 2024, the state filed the amended motion. The court finds that both the notice and the amended notice comply with Florida Rules of Criminal Procedure 3.201B, Medina v. State, State v. Hickson, and Ladd v. State. All of those look like they're, well, the first and the last are from district courts. First one is from the Florida 3rd District Court of Appeals, and then the last one, 2nd District Court. The State v. Hickson doesn't look to be, or maybe it is the second, I don't know. Anyway, as relied on by the state, all address, exclusion, or admissibility of expert testimony on battered spouse syndrome at trial, not pretrial exclusion of expert testimony on battered spouse syndrome. So that he's saying it's going to go in front of a jury, not to exclude it pretrial. Additionally, Akindo v. State, review granted, addresses the introduction of battered spouse syndrome evidence, not the pretrial exclusion of same. So he's saying based on the precedence that's been set, it is the evidence is entered, it's not excluded at pretrial. The state relies heavily on Wagner v. State, Florida First District Court of Appeals, 2017. In Wagner, according to appellant's testimony, as she bent down to pick up the keys with her left hand, the gun she was holding in her right had accidentally discharged, that she absolutely did not intentionally pull the trigger, and that she was not aiming at anything when the gun went off. The bullet discharged and struck the husband in the lower back. The trial court precluded appellant from presenting the battered spouse syndrome evidence at trial. Okay. At the hearing, no outright evidence of an accident was presented. See defendant's statement as outlined in paragraph 10 of the amended notice. So it looks like that was overturned on appeal, right? Because he's saying the trial court precluded appellant, so that would be the woman who pulled the trigger, from presenting the battered spouse syndrome evidence at trial. So before they got in front of the jury, the trial court said, no, we're not going to have that. So that's interesting. And then it got overturned. It is how I'm interpreting it. Now, when they're saying here at the hearing, is it the hearing we had yesterday, or is it because it says see defendant statements as outlined? Let's keep going. So orders and adjudges as followed. The motion and amended motion, so that's from Sarah, are granted in part and denied in part. The motion and amended motion are granted in that defendant shall submit to an examination by an expert of the state's choosing. See Dilbeck v. State. 643, some citation, some previous record. Excuse me. Oh my God, I've had so much Diet Coke today. Said examination shall take place no later than September 26, 2024. So we're in court on the 26th because that's their next conference. So it's really got to be done by the 25th because we're likely going to be in court all day on September 26th, or at least half of a day, right? So the state has to get that in motion. Who's their expert, which they said they already had, and then book it with Sarah or have them just go to the jail. It's not like Sarah's schedule is full. The motion and amended motion are denied in that the notice and the amended notice shall not be stricken. Okay, so no, he's saying the motion and the amended motion, but well, I guess the state, it was a motion to strike. So, okay, so he's responding to the state's motions. State requests preclude defendant from mentioning battered spouse syndrome in her opening statement is denied. State's request to prevent any mention of battered spouse syndrome until admissible evidence of justifiable use of deadly force is admitted into evidence at trial, and admissible evidence of battered spouse syndrome is admitted into evidence at trial is denied. Done and ordered in chambers. Oh my God, at Orlando. So he's going to let her roll with that's how I'm interpreting it. You guys tell me if you see something different. He's going to Judge Kraynick is going to let her roll with the battered spouse defense. The state is going to get to have a person of their own choosing to examine her. That's got to be done before the next pretrial. And it sounds like he is citing a case that was overturned because the trial court did not let the evidence. So he's going to let it roll, and it's going to be what the jury decides, which it didn't seem like it was leaning that way yesterday, right? I don't know, guys. I don't know. It makes me scared. I was watching the Marsha Thomas, a little bit of it, and they cheered like when she was found not guilty. And they Court TV had entered or had a jury member on, and they were, they asked, I can't remember her name, but she does the morning show on Court TV, was asking like, well, how do you feel about the victim in this case? And she basically was like, well, nobody should have to die, but he lived a horrible life. And like, so they were able to villainize the victim there. Oh God. Yeah. I just really believe that if a jury hears all of this, they're not going to be inclined to like that Sarah is telling the truth. I'm going to do these two more motions and then we can talk about it all in the chat. So the other thing, motion to amend. Oh, wait, I got to make sure I'm sharing with you guys. I always do that. Motion to amend order for investigator non pro tunc. So now for then to backdate it. Comes now the defendant Sarah Boone by and through undersigned counsel the motion for determination of indigency for costs and says the defendant is charged with second-degree murder. This is just for prison break. So this is on August 8th, the JAC approved an order allowing $10,000 or 200 hours. As of August 30th, there's a remainder of, I thought it was going to be the other way around. There's a remainder of 138 hours or 6,900. So she's used not quite $4,000 left on the order issued under pro se defendant Sarah Boone. The undersigned counsel requests that the remainder of the hours be transferred from pro se defendant Sarah Boone to attorney James Owens, effective August 30th. So that was his motion, and then JAC at pleadings. Wait a minute, did he send it? See, this is the thing that he has only done correctly once. When you have this for the JAC, you're supposed to send them an email. Then they send you an email back that you attach as a motion. And he's not saying this was already approved on the record. So why doesn't he remember to get that in there? Wherefore, the defendant requests his honorable court grant this request and find the defendant indigent for purposes of costs only. See, he didn't say like on September 19th, we discussed this. I don't know. And then it's lodging for the investigator. Motion to incur costs for lodging for private investigator during trial. So this we did not discuss at all on the record yesterday. And I don't think that was previously granted. It was only, I think, for travel expenses like driving. Anyway, comes now the defendant by and through undersigned counsel and moves the court for entry of an order to incur the additional cost of a private investigator to assist him in the preparation of his defense in the above styled cause to be paid by the JAC and as grounds, therefore, would show defendant was found by this court to be indigent, prison break investigations, a licensed investigator contracted with JAC. Undersigned counsel has determined that prison break investigations investigator Billy Lane's presence is necessary for his assistance during the upcoming trial. Investigator Billy Lane is not located in the 9th Judicial Circuit and travels more than 50 miles to court. Counsel would also request that reimbursement be granted to Investigator Billy Lane for lodging expenses and per diem during the trial period. Now, what is he going to be doing during the trial that he needs to be there every day? Because he's not a witness. Is he still going to be tracking down? No, because the judge said yesterday, like, no discovery once the trial starts. Maybe those first 3 days while they're picking a jury. The defendant's defense in this case will be irreparably hampered, and his, instead of her, right to fair trial and due process of law would be jeopardized if he cannot obtain the services of an investigator to assist him in the preparation of his defense. Wherefore, the defendant respectfully requests this court's order granting additional investigative funds and authorized for payment by the JAC. There's something else in here that's pending, except the attachment hasn't been made. It's a motion for court-appointed experts to produce reports. So I just finished a video, which is why I was checking this, that how can Michael Birkeland be qualified as an expert when he's no longer a doctor? So what's for snacks to JAC? Anyone know? Oh my God. These people, like balls of a burglar, I tell you. So it's going to be in. The battered wife syndrome is going to be in. Well, I shouldn't say it's going to be. They have the right to enter it if they so choose. But maybe after they finish looking at discovery. Hey, Modus Apparatus. Hi, C. Morales. Hi, Bama. Happy Friday. Much endeavors. Hey, girl. Hey, Nico. aka the cat lady, Bekra, Moya. Oh my goodness. Hey everybody, happy Friday. I hope everybody's having an amazing Friday. And hopefully a quiet weekend, because there should be no more new Sarah Boone motions dropping. And that ambulance chaser knows it. Yeah, if he floats that in front of a jury, I mean, the state laid it out yesterday, right? Mr. J very clearly said they were drunk. Well, they had, what did he say? Alcohol infused spats or whatever he said, right? So if they talk about George and try to paint him as a bad person, then the state, if they the defense, then the state is going to talk about Owens. And I thought he was practicing, because I was watching it again, when he was like, the state should have known we might have used this defense. They've prosecuted. Like, he just laid it on thick. I was too busy trying to like fact check, like, did they prosecute it multiple times? But it's interesting. I think this is wrong, but it should make for an entertaining trial, what with Sarah potentially testifying. Yeah. And she'll probably have on like a soft pink something. They're going to feminize the heck out of Sarah, because she sounds like super aggressive in those videos, and just kind of like, I don't know. They're going to have to do something. So I think that is why they want the makeup and the hair. And hopefully they have a situation where they can actually redo her hair. Hey, Susan. Hey, BGOG. I don't know if she has to test. I mean, they're going to have to get on the record somehow the abuse, right? They can't get it in through the psychiatrist, because that would only be hearsay. The psychiatrist can say, for example, it would happen this way. But I think, yes, but based on what Mr. J was saying, the prosecutor, it sounds like if she does testify, she's going to get impeached, because she's going to say now it was self-defense, according to what Owen said in court. And then they have the interrogation video that says it was an accident, not intentional. Do you know? So how is that going to drive? Unless Owens is successful at blocking that interrogation video, which I don't see how he gets the entire thing out. Like maybe pieces of it, but not in its entirety. But I don't even want to put that in the universe. I'm saying that everything is going to be eligible for being in. The judge is going to develop headaches. Hope he's not internalizing all the frustrations. He seemed like he was paying yesterday, the way that he had like his head in his hands. Like he didn't seem, hey, fan lady, because the judge might have done us a favor if she has to testify with battered spouse. That's true. That is very true. I think no matter what, even Owen's like 4D magic was not going to stop Sarah from telling her truth. She's been waiting. She changed her story just like Jodi Arias. Oh yeah, I forgot. Jodi changed hers like 3 times, right? Especially after they found that evidence with the photograph of him in the shower. Because before, she was not there. She was in another state with someone else. How many people will be rearranging their schedules to I know. I don't know if I can take the whole time off though. As we get closer, I'll figure it out. I definitely want to do opening statements, because I think those are going to be fiery. And then when Sarah testifies, like I want to do it live, she will have a fog like Jodi Arias. I think he allowed it so they can't win on appeal. Good luck proving it in trial. That's what I'm thinking too, Jenny B. Like one less thing to worry about that the appellate court might go, because nobody wants to do this over again. He's so patient. I don't know how he does it. Yesterday, he did look for a minute like his head is going to explode when her attorney was, yes, exactly, when he was droning on and on. And finally he said, I don't understand that circular logic, because you could tell he was like struggling to make sense of whatever Owens was rambling on and on. And Owens throws in so many details that have nothing to do. Oh, and then I'm across the street at the Hilton. That has nothing to do with what is going on in court. I'm retired. I'll be home watching. Oh, Nico, maybe you should do a live stream. Gender Snaps, you're retired too? Oh, God bless you guys. Yes. I'm going to trust Kraynick. Yes, YouTubing. Thank you for grounding us. He's been good so far. It's going to turn out as it should. I'm not terribly surprised he's allowing it. It's pretty much the only defense they can use, unless they want to try saying She has DID. Oh, blue dragonfly. What is DID? Now I gotta look that up. DID. Is it a syndrome? Oh, dissociative identity disorder. Oh my God. So it wasn't really Sarah who did it. It was one of her other identities. I'm surprised that none of the other attorneys tried that, and that's why she doesn't remember. The version of herself that she remembers, it was all a good time. How will they get around her loss of credibility? I don't know what defense they could have that would get around her loss of credibility, because she tells so many different stories. And you can tell, I mean, he's right. Owens is right about one part. Her perception is altered. Not to say that it's tied to anything to do with George, but you and I have now seen like how she moves about things. Like she's with the court, and the court filed the order, and she was like, well, it's my opinion that because of your misinformation, what you did was prejudiced against me. And it's like, we all read the order and there was nothing in there prejudicial or any comments about you personally. Like, as far as your character, it was more about the wishy-washiness of you. The bar keeps getting moved for your attorneys. First, you're complaining they didn't come. Then they didn't come often enough. Then when they did come, and have contact with you, it wasn't the right way to have contact with you. Like, that's what he said. And that was factual. That wasn't like a dig at her. Hello, Carol McIntyre. Yes, you are. Happy Friday. How you doing? He'll be lurking while working. He looks like a lurker. Like, he's just, ugh. I guess private investigators have to be that way. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Bama Green Eyes. I appreciate you. But I'm also fighting a fever. Oh no, I'm sorry, A. Stevens. Yeah, so basically he was responding to the state's motion to strike and then the amended motion to strike. So he gave them, yes, they can have, which I feel like they planned for that. That's why they had that in there. Because if the whole motion was stricken, they wouldn't need it, their own expert to examine her. So he granted that part, right? And then he's saying the other part, it's gonna be left to the triers of fact, the jury. We're not going to block it out ahead of time. So now I'm interested in that other case. So obviously that the one case that he cited where the appellate court found it in error, it got overturned, right? And so he doesn't want that in this case. I mean, no judge wants to be overturned, but he's like very cautious. And he knows like Owens and Sarah are slippery together. So yeah, definitely has to tread lightly as an officer of the court. But I don't think he can go wrong. I mean, I don't think because he's a defense attorney, he can't be like, oh, I don't trust what my client is saying. You know what I mean? Like, he can say, on information and belief from my client, this is what I believe to be true also. I just hope he can slow walk her to a plea deal after all this. I was watching Dr. Barry's and I saw something today that I hadn't seen when she was looking at it. And when Mr. J was saying about her being an alcoholic, she leaned over to the blonde woman and was like whispering feverishly. So that's not going to sit well with her. And if she's responding that way, sitting at the table, imagine her up on the stand when they start saying she has an alcohol problem. Hey, Yana, how are you? Ginger Snaps, Kelson, the whole gang is here. Oh my God. The Sarah saga. I know. Hey, Razia, Deborah. Oh, I don't want to butcher your last name. Demorak, I think, maybe. The expert is supposed to be deposed 10/24, but looks like needs to be done by 9/26. Can be 10/24 because the trial starts 10/7. I know they said there's the state is going to depose Julie, oh my God, on the 1st of October. What is her name, guys? Harper. The state is going to depose Julie Harper on October 1. But now the state's expert has to examine Sarah by the 26th. So really, it's got to be done by the 25th because we're back in front of the judge on the 26th. But they can't do 10/24 because the trial would be damn near over, if not over, if it's 2 weeks, right? Like if we start, let's just see, by Judge Kraynick's logic, if we start on the 7th and the jury is not seated until the 9th, and we go 2 weeks, the trial would be over October 23rd. So I don't think you'd be deposing them after the trial was over if we follow his logic. I think he wants to fortify against. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because can you imagine it will go on for years and years? Oh, yeah. Okay. You said 10-1. Need to avoid an appeal. Yep. The video absolutely sinks her. For everything you've done to me. This guarantees Sarah will testify, which is great. Yep. I think so too. Let them get a full look. I mean, she might surprise all of us. She might get an Academy Award up there and be this as sweet as pie and not flinch and not be upset about it. But that's going to be a lot of coaching between now and trial. I can't even say it with a straight face. That has not been shown through yet on the portal. But I'm watching it now because there's something else that's supposed to come through. Like the motion is listed. Let me refresh, but it hasn't. The attachment has not come through. Oh no! Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Hold on. Jesus. To amend order for investigator. This one is for cost. We read that one. For court-appointed expert. Okay, this one just came through. So let's see. They're trying to get out of there by 4 o'clock, I guess. Okay, motion for court-appointed experts to produce records comes now. The state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney and request that court-appointed clinical psychologist Dr. Michael Brannon and court-appointed crime scene reconstructionist death investigator he's not a doctor, Michael Berkland, produced reports of their findings prior to trial. 1, the defense filed motions for the appointment of Dr. Michael Brannon and Dr. Michael Berkland on September 18th. The court granted the motion to appoint these doctors. 1 doctor. On September 19th, the state requested that these doctors provide written reports prior to trial. The defense objects to the request by the state. Neither Dr. Brannon nor Berkland were listed on the defense's amended witness list in this case. The state has not previously had an opportunity to depose them. The case at bar is currently set for trial on October 7, 2024. Therefore, the state would request that both Dr. Michael Brannon and Dr. Michael Berkland provide written reports regarding their findings to the state and defense prior to the close of business on September 26, 2024. The close of business. So that could be after the hearing, right? Because do you guys know what time the hearing is on the 26th? I certify. Oh, wait, I could just look over here. You know what? Stop being lazy, Tanika. September 26th, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. So they'll have until the end of that day to do it. Okay. And then let's see. What is this one? We looked at that one. There's more. Hang on. Wait, what? Okay, they just added this, and this is weird. Oh, it's dated August 27th. Okay. Somebody from Iowa received from the judge. It was received 9/18, but it was written August 27th. Good Lord, did it get stuck in a U.S. postal pipe? Dear Judge Kraynick, I have been closely following developments in defendant Sarah Boone's case, who is accused of second-degree murder, and I find her predicament very troubling. It is evident that Sarah Boone is a difficult inmate, per your decision, has forfeited her right to counsel. It is an appropriate conclusion though the right to court-appointed counsel is constitutionally guaranteed, the defendant does not have a right to shop for one infinitum. Oh my God. ad infinitum until she finds the right fit. There are, however, some concerns and considerations which I fear will jeopardize the defendant's right to a fair trial, which perhaps have never been raised before. We must first recognize, who is this? Oh my goodness, a nosy friend, but not on our side of the track. We must first recognize, as you are personally well aware, that no person in the state of Florida, nor in any state of these United States, is allowed to legally perform the duties of an attorney without a legal law license, for which one has to pass a bar examination. That simple fact underscores the depth of education, experience, and savvy which are necessary for an individual to represent another individual or entity. But of course, these are 21st century considerations which take into account the complicated world in which we live today and which were not on any of the founding fathers' radars. Am I sharing with you guys always? Okay, yes, I am. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, back to this. Were not on any of the founding fathers' radars when the Constitution was first drafted. Expecting a layperson to be able to competently represent themselves in 2024 and with no accommodations would be tantamount to expecting a layperson to perform medical surgery on themselves and without any access to modern tools. We would never allow such a thing under the law, let alone legally mandate that someone has forfeited their right to a doctor and must now perform surgery on themselves. I feel like that's a little extreme, because why would you be performing surgery on yourselves? You told all your surgeons to F off? Like, I don't like that analogy. This could be considered inhumane and a violation of human rights. As such, no individual without a law license should be allowed to represent themselves ever. Individuals who have the education and accreditation, although ill-advised, are a different matter. See Robert Tellis. Not considering that we cannot simply alter the Constitution without much due process. And with this, I am not suggesting that Miss Boone be afforded yet another lawyer. Well, what are you suggesting? Get to the point. What consideration should be taken in order to properly afford her access to a fair opportunity at self-defense? If another counsel is not an option, frankly speaking, there is no other choice but to allow the defendant to have access to any and all materials necessary to aid in her defense, including a law library, a computer, limited internet access, an investigator, etc. Okay, where have you been? She had access to the law library. She had a computer, no internet access. She had an investigator. And what do we do before the internet, ma'am? Or sir, I don't even know who wrote this. The defendant must be, I'm assuming it's a woman, but we'll see. I shouldn't make that assumption. The defendant must be allowed a secured place. She was offered a secure place. She turned it down because she didn't want to be alone. And anything else they might reasonably need in order to research their case, study a defense, and properly represent themselves. These considerations should be provided for any defendant choosing their right to self-defense. This should not be seen as going above and beyond treatment of other pro se defendants. So this was Sarah's quote from the trial. Well, first the lawyer said it for jail counsel, and then Sarah repeated it in a sarcastic way. It should be seen as the treatment for all pro se defendants, for to deny these things is a clear violation of human rights. And yet it's, first I just want to say, yeah, Liz Murray. Oh, Liz Murray is, I'm assuming that's a woman, concerned U.S. citizen. Oh my God. It has been argued by jailhouse counsel that none of these privileges are granted by the Constitution, and that defendants should only have access to pen and paper, envelopes, and stamps. But I would venture to argue even further that the Constitution also doesn't guarantee a defendant to the right to medical treatment, meals, or even personal hygiene supplies or clothing. No, it says their punishment cannot be inhumane. It's just that we, the people, have collectively decided that human rights and the dignity of the individual matter, and that they supersede any constitution or state charter, and thus it is for the betterment of all to honor them, for we might one day find ourselves at the mercy of the law and its enforcers. And if we act a fool, we deserve what we get. As long as the state is responsible for the care and housing of any inmate, pro se or not, we must also afford them a path to properly exercise their constitutional rights in 2024, not just in 1787. Oh, Lord. And where's this one from? Des Moines, Iowa. I won't put their address on screen, but goodness gracious, really? Okay. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Where are these people coming from? Okay, let me see. I think there's one more in here. That was received on the 18th, but it didn't pop up until now because I went through the stuff yesterday and Wednesday. Oh, excuse me. State's response. Okay, and then we have court minutes and also JAC response. Oh my gosh, she's uploading everything right now. Motion for court. Okay, we read that one. Order appointing experts. Oh God. Okay, and there's also an order granting that they haven't published the actual document yet. So let's just see. What do we have here? Somebody is trying to get the hell out of the office. Okay. Order on defendant's motion to appoint clinical psychologist. This matter has come before the court upon defendant's motion to appoint clinical psychologist. So this is approving the clinical psychologist expert is hereby granted. Dr. Michael Brannon is appointed as clinical psychologist expert to assist the defense. That Dr. Brannon is authorized at a rate of 160, JAC, blah, 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 blah. Michael Kraynick, conform copies to Sarah's crew, and Assistant State Attorney David Cacciatore. Oh, Mr. J doesn't get a conformed copy. And the JAC. Okay. Order on defendant's amended motion to appoint forensic psychologist. What was the other one? It wasn't a forensic? Oh, the other one was a clinical. This one is the forensic. Okay. So order and adjudged. The defendant's amended motion to appoint forensic psychologist expert is hereby granted. Julie Harper is appointed as forensic psychologist expert to assist the defense. JAC, blah, 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 is responsible for all costs. And conformed copies are going to the same distribution list. JAC sent an email. Dear Mr. Owens, the JAC has received and reviewed the motion. What time did this come in? 11:42. I think I sent my note after that. The motion for declaration of indigency and payment of due process costs as to the above referenced matter. JAC will not be filing a formal response and takes no position. So this is what he didn't attach. Like they usually say, just attach this. Yeah. JAC will not be filing a formal response and takes no position as to your motions, except JAC objects to any rate in excess of the established rates, absent a showing of a necessity to exceed those rates. And then he tells where the charts are. They do not request to participate in a hearing set for this matter. You may utilize this email in lieu of a formal response and should attach it to your motions when you provide it to the court. Yeah, so this one should be attached, but this looks like the court assistant or the JA judicial assistant, Anita, printed it out for him and put it in there because she was copied on there. Oh no, this was sent Monday, September 9th. How can that be? Monday, September 9th at 11:42. Maybe Mr. Owens just didn't have it? That's weird. And then the court minutes, the court orders. The court heard several of the defense motions as it relates to motion for statement of particulars, denied as stated on the record. Motion for additional discovery, denied as stated on the record. Motion to appoint forensic psychologist granted as stated on the record, nunc pro tunc. The court appointed Dr. Brennan. Wait, isn't it Brannon? And didn't we just say he was going to be the clinical psychologist? Oh my God. Right? Okay, I'm just going to switch this real fast. Right? Okay. Clinical psychologist, Dr. Michael Brannon. But on this other order, it says forensic psychologist, court appointed Dr. Brennan. Oh my God, what's happening? Motion for costs granted as stated on the record, nunc pro tunc, which is my understanding he hasn't. Oh, wait, this. Am I reading it backwards? Sorry, the dogs are home. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get her to come here. I don't know what's happening here. Okay. Motion to appoint forensic psychologist. And this says nunc pro tunc, but this guy hasn't started working yet. Anyway, motion for costs granted as stated on the record. Motion for appointment of crime scene investigator granted as stated on the record. Motion for the return of property denied. Motion for enlargement of time granted in part, denied in part. Liberty, don't you start. Granted as it relates to filing objections to the state's evidence. Denied as to remaining portions of the motions. So he gave him more time to file the objections and then denied the rest of it. The court will prepare order as stated on the record for remaining motions, which he did. Okay, I think that's it that they filed. But did we see an order approving the other guy? I don't see it. The death investigator. Did that one? Okay, that's the one that hasn't come through. You see how it is here? Can I make it bigger for you guys? It is granted, though. It says order granting defendant's amended motion to appoint crime scene reconstructionist and death investigator. It just hasn't been uploaded, the actual document, but we know it's going to be one page when it comes to Liberty. So that is it, you guys. What a wacky week. And we're back in court next week. So the 24th is the motion before the chief judge. Yes. Mm-hmm. Come here. Come on. And then the 26th that's next week, right? Or am I imagining my dates? Yeah, 24th is next Tuesday, 26th is next Thursday. So we have court 2 days. I mean, I don't think Sarah will be there for the 24th, but I'm going to see if I can get in on the Zoom link. I don't know if I'll go live, though. I'll have to see if I can actually get in before I just start blasting. I'm about 4 minutes, just gained another witness. They are getting, they're going to get to a doctor to examine Sarah by the 26th. Oh my God. Defense has to file a motion, then judge will rule. Hope his order is after next hour, so she can't. File a motion for what? Let me see. What did Deborah say? Ooh, wait, T. Let me see if I can find Deborah's. And then there's a lot in here. Oh, did she get makeup in here? Yeah. There has to be a motion. Next, she'll want a spa day. She does have negative charisma. That's what I left on before. That means the circus can begin. Who's bringing the popcorn and cotton candy? Ooh, and candied apples. I need some candied apples. Owens has got to know this is a losing battle. I don't know. I'm telling you, I feel like in his 4D chess, he's trying to slow walk her to a plea deal. Even if they introduce BSS, I don't think it will matter because they are going to impeach her. Right. Right. Hey, summa cum laude, BSN. How are you? Happy Friday. Poppy soda, pop and snacks. Oh my God. I don't know if I can afford poppy soda, like not for hours and days at a time, but I do need to stop drinking all this Diet Coke. Prosecution has case law defining battered spouse. They will be able to argue she's not qualified anyway. Yeah, she wasn't in imminent danger either, and that's going to have to be part of it for it to be used as a defense. But at least, he got her to admit she did it, right? Before it was not intentional. In order to use this, battered spouse is an affirmative defense. You are saying you did it, but here's why. So Judge Kraynick has a total of 10 cases on for 9/26, 7 of which are scheduled prior to Sarah's 9 a.m. slot, then 2 in the afternoon starting at 1:30. Interesting. Judge Kraynick is a beast. Lisa Patterson Owens deserves contempt of court. No dates on his certificate of service, shouldn't have been admitted. I thought so too, and I thought the judge was going to call him on that, but I guess maybe they can go, I don't know. Like, was it actually served? Is that a question if there's no date? You know what I mean? And then he just kind of stood there bumbling about it. I agree. Like, something should have happened more because if he got away with it once, he just feels like the kind that'll try it again. SB with her BS over the BSS. Yes. Oh my God. Uh-oh. Oh, my phone vibrated and fell off I'm like, nobody else is, like, no other human is here but me. I want lots of kettle corn. Ooh, that sounds good. There used to be this popcorn called Yonkers that we used to eat back home. I don't know if they make it anymore, but it was kind of like kettle corn, kind of like fiddle faddle, but it was more caramely, more sugary, probably, I'm thinking. Anyway. Okay, we did that one. Am I behind? What time is it? 4:03. What time are these? Oh God, these are at 3:30. Maybe Billy Lane is going to be serving people with subpoenas that they can't find, but the state can. Okay. But during the week of trial, what's the form number to submit our invoices for snacks? Oh my God. We need to submit more than that. I need a mental health professional that I need JAC to pay for. You've been in 3 different countries, Nico, since she's been arrested? Oh, wow. Each one of you guys. Oh, that's sweet. Happy Friday to all the wonderful, awesome people in here. Besides makeup, a hairdresser. Is she getting her Tiffany jewelry too, right? And a manicure and a pedicure, a facial, a wax. They are going to tear him up. I do believe that. Because usually at the beginning, unless the other side stipulates, you have to put on the record all the things that qualify this person to be an expert. I feel like he might not, maybe the state will not contest him being a witness, but when he gets on the stand, they'll rip him down where he won't be able to be qualified as an expert because of all, the felonies, the misdemeanors, I don't think they can use like the civil cases against him because anybody could really sue you for anything. But basically, if there's a criminal case and you've gone to court on it, like there was some teeth to it. But I just don't like, what is Owens thinking? I think it's got to be a buddy of his. It's somebody else up from the Panhandle. Billy Lane maybe needed to babysit Sarah and visit her in the jail after court because those 2 lady assistants are going to need a break from babysitting her during court. The gang's all here. Happy Friday, everyone. By biting an unlicensed expert. I don't think the defense can. I mean, why would they want a mistrial and have to do it all? Because they would immediately do it all over again, right? The state is ready. They've been ready since 2022. But I mean, anything is possible, Lisa. Maybe he doesn't know this man, but he hasn't had it in like 14 years. That's the weird part. on the stand, and she's going to lose her mind on cross. Yes. I hope it is Mr. J who does cross, because he knows, like, he knows how to turn a phrase. He's going to get under her skin. Nice to see so many regulars. Will Tanika kick us out after her last call? No, never. No, wait. But it was intentional, right? She's going to have to switch her whole story. And if she testifies and they play that clip, I'm sure Attorney Jay will be like, listen, this is what you said the day after, and you swore on your son's life. Now today, you're saying it was intentional. Which is it, ma'am? Were you lying then, or are you lying now? But if she would have said it was intentional from the beginning, no, I think she should have just said that she was drunk, and I think maybe she would have got charged with manslaughter. I'm not saying she shouldn't be responsible, but I think that would have been the only way for her to get manslaughter. Do you guys think if they start the trial and things get going and then Sarah realizes she's in over her head, that the state will give her a plea? Or at that point, it's all bets are off. We're going big. Because maybe it'll take the case being rolled out in front of her. Because right now she's still living in her delusional world. Like, look at what she's already convinced Owens of. Like, she was tricked down there. She just went down there to get her phone. They didn't tell her she could leave, but she didn't ask either. She's down there asking about how to pry a ring off of George's cold dead hand. Like, yeah, and someone mentioned yesterday that she technically did not have the right to the autopsy information because she was the next of kin. So I guess maybe they wanted to get a reaction, or they wanted her to answer like how he got the bruises. Oh, thank you, Nico. I appreciate you. Yeah. Oh no, well, you can hear us though, Addie. I have chat but no video stream. I'm sorry. That's weird that your YouTube is. I think Owens is going to smuggle tranquilizers for Sarah to take during trial. YouTubing, oh my God. Maybe. She seemed, I don't know, lighter yesterday, if you know what I mean. Like, she seemed very heavily burdened, obviously, when she was doing, as I would be if I had to represent and fight for my life without counsel. But she wasn't as giddy as she was on the third, but she wasn't as heavy as she was before, if that makes sense. And it seemed like she was trying to get the ladies to like her. But for all I know, they visited her in the last week, and that wasn't her first time meeting them. But definitely, if she doesn't have hair and makeup, don't put her between those two ladies when the jury is in, because that is like a stark contrast. So Boone lied during the interrogation, or she is lying now. Yep. Either way, they're going to be able to paint her as a liar, because both. Oh, thank you, Liz. Both things can't be true. It can't be both not intentional and self-defense. She will lie like a rug, Sean. She will lie like a rug. Narcissists feel they're entitled to everything. What are they going to do? Poodle curls? I can't. Oh my God. Maybe finger waves. She could get some finger waves and be like a, what are those when they have the fringes, the little, what is it? Like, oh my God. Are they called swingers? Or am I misremembering that? When it's like Charleston, gay Carolina with all the, whatever that is, or a page boy. Like, they could make it look flattering instead of like she cuts it with clippers. Like, literally, I cut my Yorkie's hair with clippers. And their hair looks better than hers. It is an absolute slap in the face to actual domestic abuse victims. Did Kraynick give a good reason? He cited that there was another case that was overturned on appeal where the trial court did not allow the defense to argue that. So it looks like what we're thinking is that he does not want to risk that being turned over. Let's put it in front of the jury and see what they say. But for all we know, Owens could be bluffing. Like, he could look at all this stuff and be like, there's no way I'm going to risk putting Sarah on the stand, and I know she's going to contradict herself, right? Because Jay already hinted that it would have to be a narrative, because Owens is not going to be able to question her knowing she said the exact opposite during her interrogation. Or I don't know if this is allowed because I'm not a lawyer. Maybe he says, initially you said X, Y, and Z, that it was not intentional in the interrogation. Why weren't you truthful to them then? Do you know what I mean? And he could try to play it that way. And then maybe he can question, but we'll have to ask an actual lawyer and not one who plays one in her head. So I just think he may not even this may be another stall tactic, or if it didn't go through, that was something he could use on appeal. So now judges said, I'm hands off, fine, you can use that. The state gets to have a witness, have their expert examine her, and the state gets to depose the Dr. Julie Harper, and then we're all set. October 7th, see you then. Judge Kraynick is a very smart man, and he plays it very cool. He's my favorite kind of smart person. He's not like smug about it. And he's extremely patient. I believe patience takes intelligence because, Lord, I will blow my top in a minute. Over the years, I've mellowed as I've learned to like regulate my emotions more from my own past trauma. But he is really, he seems to be unflinchable, and I love that. Like, he just is calmly listening patiently. He gives that dad look like, okay. So he also can show that he's frustrated in a measured way, like when Owens was going on and on in circles. So then he was like, let's get to the point. But Owens did keep cutting him off. I don't think that's going to fly, like, in front of the jury. I think he's going to learn that before we get the jury in. She's going to rock a man bun and a pink suit, please. No. Oh, did Carol get one of the memberships? Welcome to the membership, Carol. Hey, Kova. Oh, you hit the like. Thank you. If you guys are here, leave me a little DNA on that like button, as Grizzly would say. I hope they play the part where she swears. I hope so too. Yep. Poor Lucas. Even if Owens gets the interrogation out, Boone admitted freely on the 911 call and when the police arrived that it was an accident. Lie then or now. Right. It's so many times she said it, like in the body-worn camera when the first officer got there, because the officer was like, wait, you were playing puzzles? And then on the 911 call, she says, I put him in the suitcase. We were playing, kind of a hide and seek thing. So, yeah. She said it too many times, But I'm sure there's an excuse for that. It'll be like, she was so afraid of what the consequences were. She thought it would be easier to get off. They're going to try to spin it, but it's ultimately going to portray her as manipulative. Let it in so he wouldn't be. I agree. I think so. She was always going to testify, in my opinion. Now it will have to be by narrative. Oh, God. So, Yana, you don't think he can like back her into why she changed her story? You think it will have to absolutely? That's what I'm trying to, because Teas, who was an actual attorney, couldn't stay on track. So I don't imagine that Sarah will be able to stay on track, because that's kind of the good thing about the when you have your attorney asking you questions, they're kind of stepping you through the stories. And if you skip over a part, they'll gently guide you back. Like, okay, so let's back up a little bit. You said blah, 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 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But unless you have notes or like highlights of points you want to hit, I just don't see Sarah staying on track. She's already like circular in all her conversations. Cornbread isn't done in the middle. Oh my God. I don't know what that means. She's not all the way cooked. She's half baked. Sarah will tell her story just to lie. Oh God. Yeah. And that seemed to be, I wish they would have had the camera on her. They got to figure out the camera angles. That seemed to be the first time that she heard that Brian said she was abusive. So that tells me right there, she never listened to the audio of, because he said it plain as day. She used to come after me. I just had more restraint than George. She would pull her claws out on me. So, which is why it makes sense now. That's why he's on their witness list, but he's not going to have anything favorable to say about, Sarah not being abusive. Judge Daddy is only letting it in because it could be overturned. Yes, Victoria, that is correct. Which is okay. I've turned it to my granny, who has to walk to court weekly to watch court proceedings, watching trials. Oh, really? I wouldn't mind doing that in my retirement, going and sitting in and listening on trials. That actually might be kind of cool. Welcome to the membership, Addie. Oh, thank you, William Carl. I hate that she is a star and George seems to be forgotten. Rest in peace, brother. I never met you, but I mourn you. Absolutely. It's like it's almost as if it's an intentional thing, right, William? Like she wants to make it about her, even though there's all of this going on about how horrible she is because he's in the suitcase. I feel like the news should put his face up more and not his mugshot, like to humanize him, because I think, and actually, I'm going to start with me. We'll start having more positive pictures of George through the videos, at least the recorded ones. I'll figure that out. But the Owens is going to dehumanize George as well. He's already doing it. Like he did it yesterday when he was like, oh, they know who George is. They've prosecuted him, like as if he weren't human or as if somehow he deserved to be murdered by a suitcase. So it just is, yeah. It's all turned into her. And I think also that is an extra precautionary reason that Kraynick doesn't want it to be appealed because it'll start all over again. And it's like, let's put this to bed for George's family and for his children. While I feel bad for Lucas, he kind of knew who his mom is. George's kids don't deserve any of this. Like his daughters miss their dad. He's not gonna. They're 16. They're sweet 16 or quinceanera. I don't know what they celebrate, but the milestones. Your dad walking you down the aisle. All of those things. That's been taken from them by Sarah, and she seems to have like no contrition whatsoever. She couldn't care less. She couldn't care less. All she's trying to do is like save her own neck, which I think is also what makes this case fascinating for so many of us. It's just like, how disgusting of a human being can you be? But we'll send out positive energy, positive vibes for George and his family, his mom, his children. Can we speculate on the jail calls? Oh, Cheryl, I sent in a request. Well, I sent in a request for the tablet calls, and thank you for whoever sent me that link on how the inmates used tablets as weapons in Massachusetts. Like the CEOs are in there fighting for their life, and you got Sarah in there worried about cheese slices. Make it make sense. But yeah, I'm going to be for real. The ones I really want to know are the ones to Christina Pena, because Pena is the one that Sarah was always sticking her stuff in Pena's locker or her drawer and getting busted for it. And now Christina Pena is free, but she still comes to visit Sarah. So I'm wondering, like, once she got out, if they're talking on the phone and what are they saying? Because I feel like there might be a romantic relationship there. And in Sarah's, she got some, like, what do they call them? Positive urns and for cleaning, but then they also found like pieces of the rubber gloves that they use for cleaning. And I'm like, was she using that as a dental dam? I'm like, all in their business. But I wonder what she said. Definitely, obviously not, this is relevant to the case, but there's something pertinent related to the case because Mr. J mentioned it yesterday about her communications, and she's been in there for 4 years. And she's a person who doesn't think the rules apply to her. So she probably is like, oh, they're not listening to my communicate. You know what I mean? Like she's probably in there. What did my uncle always say? Uncle Nathan, loose lips sink ships. She's in there sinking ships. Her own. Amy's like gross. Everybody needs love, Amy. Everybody needs love. Sarah's punishment should be her being placed in MDC. Oh, I don't know what that is. Medical something. Let's Google it. MDC. What is MDC? Oh, Google is failing me. Somebody tell me what MDC is. Oh, MDC Correction Officer is some kind of facility. Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Oh, God. They would eat her alive if that's the one. She talked about George like he was a child and only wanted her. Yes, she infantilized him, right? I had to teach him this, and then I told him to paint. And the weird thing is, like, after looking at George's Facebook page, he was like legit an artist. And the neighbor talked about connecting Brandon. Not Brandon. Vincent talked about connecting, like he played guitar and he would admire George's artwork. And so she made it sound like they had like colored crayons, you know what I mean? Like just to occupy themselves, or pencil. I mean, I know they have adult coloring books. I've done that to help relieve stress because it's very detailed and, you can just kind of get lost in the adult coloring book. But that's kind of what she made it sound like they were doing some paint by numbers or pencil by numbers. But he was like a full blown artist. So she just made him sound like he was incompetent. He had been a manager at Ace Hardware. He was the father to two girls and a son. Son has mental health disabilities, and he had been with the I can't remember her name now, but he had been with that woman for years. It was not like, now maybe he had some, I don't know, shortcomings due to the alcohol, because I know like wet brain can happen, but his brain couldn't have been any wetter than Sarah's brain. Do you know? And she was like, well, everything she said was a lie, because I have to get up and do things, and I have to do, what was it she said? I can remember 5 other things to do next than previously, or something. I remember it was weird. I can't. But she was like, he doesn't have to get up. He doesn't have any responsibilities. Meanwhile, the day before, ma'am, you said yourself you got up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and you knew you were supposed to get Lucas that day. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're ignoring Brian's calls, allegedly, before you knew he was dead. Like, what you're saying doesn't even make any sense. If George needed to be rescued by Sarah, he was way worse off than any of us have ever imagined, because can you imagine? That's your rescuer? If she came to get me out of a burning building as a firefighter, I wouldn't let her spit on me. What the hell are they gonna do with her hair? Well, she has time to do something. I don't know, you guys. Don't make me laugh. They could slick back the sides. They're going to have to do something. I'm telling you, I feel like their position is going to be to soften her up. They're going to make her look softer, sweeter. I wouldn't be surprised if she's in pink or something soft or pastel, even though it's fall. Or they could do an orange, I guess. I think they're going to be pushing it if they put her in a suit, but maybe in a dress, or a nice, like, lightweight sweater and some slacks. Do you know? Jury's only going to see her seated. It's not like they're going to see her walking around, but they're going to soften her up because she looks rough. I mean, the 4 years have not been kind to her in prison. It's where Diddy is at. Oh my God. Do you guys watch Paul, the reporting live from my sofa? He did this whole thing about Diddy's affidavit this morning, or whatever, his charges. And so it was like, oh my God, 1,000 bottles of like Vaseline or lubricant or something. It just sounds so salacious. But basically, it sounds like he pimp. He was abusing people. And anyway, that's a whole other thing. Paul said it better than I did, and he has the receipts. Lucas has gotten 4 years older, so he's 12 now. Wow. He was 9 at the time, wasn't he? Or was he 8? Either way, he's a preteen now. And you can see on the visits, he hardly counts. Oh, no, you can't, because I'm still editing the video. I'll have it up. The video visits, he stopped coming at the end. It'll just be Brian on there. It was abhorrent that her concern about George was wanting the ring back that she bought him. She was pissed his family received it from the Emmy. Yes, I guess I'll never get that. I'll never see that again. Girl, it's a lot of things you're not going to see again. The ring should be the least of your worries. Sarah would go drag George away from staying at his family's house and bring him back to hers, not scared. Right, Liz? Didn't his brother Juan say, like, each time she would come get him and then finally the family was fed up? Sarah painted it a different way, like, oh, he wanted to get away from them, so I went to get him. And his father, I don't know if he saw Lucas in the backseat or not, threw the bag at Lucas or something. But it was like they were telling the inverse of the same story, right? Different protagonists, I guess. Yeah. And I don't know why he would go, because they had the restraining order. It's so sad. It's like, why didn't he see? I feel sadness for Georgia's kids and her son. Yeah. And poor Lucas has to walk around with that last name. I'm sure as soon as he turns 18, or if he gets married, he'll be taking his wife's name instead of Boone, because yikes, what a nightmare. I mean, and each time he goes to a new school, because he's at that age where he would have gone right from elementary to junior high. I don't know exactly where it breaks in Florida. Some states it breaks at 7th and 8th is junior high, and some at 7th, 8th, and 9th. But whatever. And then when he goes to high school, like, will people know? Hopefully his photo is not out there. But the name, he has the name, and he spells it with the K instead of a C. Like, I would be changing something. People like Suitcase don't hit like. We are not like. Oh my God, I love it, Addie. Thank you. Okay, how do I get so behind on these messages? Let's see. Janice Wingfield. It's abhorrent. Oh yes, I wrote this one. She did I? That was her own. She was pissed George's family received the ring. Or was that, did you put it twice? Now I'm losing my mind. No matter what she wears, she's going to look like a bitch. So it doesn't even matter anyway. She just oozes bitch all over the face. Yeah. And also, it gets heightened if somebody says something she doesn't like, right? She's like, she just tightens up. Everything is clenched. She wants to make sure you know. A tight A-line skirt with it. Oh no, no, ma'am. Don't even talk that into existence. First of all, they're donated clothes. I know the only time I donate a cashmere sweater is when it's got a hole in it. Because they get holes like after a couple years. So hopefully she'll show up with a holy cashmere sweater on. She looked rough even, but oh yeah, definitely. No doubt she looked rough. But I'm saying it hasn't been kind to her. I mean, I guess it's not supposed to, but jail has been rough for her. And her face is falling fast. You know, as we get older, how this part extends and we also lose bone. So like the bottom of our face gets fuller, like that's all coming down on her. And she scrunches her face up. She just doesn't appear to be a pleasant person. You know, if that, you know how if you bump into someone on the street accidentally, you know how to apologize, like by their reaction. If you're like, oh, I'm sorry, or oh, I didn't mean to do that, or if they're just like, oh, no worries, and it's like, okay, it wasn't on purpose. You know, it just is like her whole like energy. I would never want to be in a room with her. Like, ugh, BWS, better wife. She looked, yes. Okay, I'm going backwards. Let me just make sure. DID would be a more believable defense than new. Someone recently had that and it didn't go well though. I can't remember who had that. And the therapist kind of ripped them to shreds. It'll come to me when we're done with this call, but I know I remember somebody recently having that as a defense. I'm in Dallas. Hey, Pope, where's everyone from? I'm in Dallas. I am in Manhattan. I'm in Harlem. I'm originally from California, though, but I've been in New York for 16 years now. Montana. Love it. They do say jail ages you. Well, look at Donna Adelson. That was by another 10 years. Yeah, because she's 46. And at this point, she looks older than I do instead of the other way around. The ghost of a potato. But I also feel like part of that is your internal energy, right? Like what you look like on the outside is partly about how you feel about yourself and like the way you carry yourself through the world. And so your body kind of mimics that, you know? It could be the other way around, but I just feel like if she were a nicer person, we would be able to see it in her face. Well, without Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone with the flat top. Oh, don't do it. She could do, what was that lady who used to do the makeovers for the salons? Like she had a short blonde buzz cut and it was cute, but she had the attitude and the energy to go with it. Her therapist was a loop job. Oh, that's who it was. It was Stouch, yeah, who tried to, and yes, and they ripped that apart. They ripped that apart. Like if she wouldn't remember certain parts, or it would have been more this way. I can't remember exactly, but I do. That was who I'm thinking of. Thank you. Washington, Western Australia. Oh my God, Middle South Carolina, USA, California, home girl. Where in California? I'm originally from Fresno. And then I spent several years in LA where I got my degree. And then I came to New York. Kentucky. Do they really have Kentucky Fried Chicken? I mean, of course they fry chicken there, but is there like a thing? Is that a thing? Or is that just marketing? Outside of Fort Worth, Texas. Hey, DC. Annie Oakley is retired. Okay, where are you from, Annie Oakley, with the name like Annie Oakley? UK, Long Beach, Fort Worth, Texas. Something Owen said in court when he talked about the makeup. Listen close. He said it kind of quiet, but real quick. Oh, what did he say? What did he say? I got to go back. See, now I'm in somebody else's business. I got to find Yana's. New York. Oh, hey, we're in the state. Are you in New York City or somewhere else in the state? Sorry, I was left. Oh, you guys all said it, Letitia. With her extra small. Did you guys notice it had an S on the back of her shirt yesterday for small? I don't remember seeing that last time. Okay, I can't find. I don't know what Owens whispered. Somebody tell me, and then we'll all be on the same page there. Oh, Myrtle Beach. I hear it's beautiful. I haven't been. You grew up in Stockton? Oh my God, super close. Los Angeles, super close. My mom and two of my sisters are in Sacramento now. I really wish we could see her face when Mr. J. I know. I know. I feel like in the other court cases, we usually get to see the defendant's face. Although in the Adelsons, we kind of saw mostly their profile, like a 3/4 profile, not full face. I hope they figure it out for Sarah's. I really would love to see her expressions and see the attorney's expressions too. Remember, like with Daryl Brooks, we had a camera straight on for both the defense table and the state's table. That would be helpful. Who should we talk to about that? Makeup by Mario. Yes, I agree, Robert. She was very youthful looking like that day, when she was like, oh my God, I fell asleep. And then in 2019, when she was running outside, like, oh, you guys are here. You do need Jesus. And whatever else she was saying. She seemed like energetic and youthful. Now it's all gone. New York, New York. Yes. I am 10026. Michigan. Hey, I'm 10 months older than Sarah. Okay. Northeast Oklahoma for me. I'm also a licensed wildlife rehabber and a retired pharmacist. Oh, wow. So do you work on like a, what is it called? Like one of the reserves, the wildlife reserves? That sounds cool. Yeah, she definitely wears her personality on her face. I found a lot of comfort. Same, me too, because she's living rent free in my head and I need an outlet. It's just like, it's very frustrating, but also fascinating to me. Her lawyer can tell her no, he doesn't have to do everything. I think he's trying to do client management though, Nico. I think he's trying to gain her trust. So if he does all of this and finally he'll be able to talk her into a plea deal. Do you know? Because remember he said there's trust issues on both sides. That's the only reason I can think of, like, why he would make that motion for return of property, knowing damn well that they can't give that phone, just give it back up to Sarah. First of all, where would she go with this? She can't even have it in the jail. Do you know what I'm saying? But let's say, for the sake of argument, say they just wanted to give it to him. For what reason? He could then accidentally lose it or it could fall in water. Like, he knew that was not going to fly. I think he did it to appease Sarah. And at the same time, he said, or access to it, which he knew the judge was going to grant, right? Like, why would he be playing the fool in front of Judge Kraynick? Schaefer's case was from the back of her head. Yeah, we could see a little bit of her profile, though, when she was talking, but you're right. Because I remember admiring her curls the day before she testified. And then when the day she testified, all her curls were gone. There was no makeup. I was like, oh, they told her to try to look pitiful today. The first Kentucky Fried Chicken was open. Really? In Salt Lake, Utah? Oh my God. Okay. I did not know that. That's hilarious. I was originally from Wisconsin. I thought maybe okay, that's somebody else talking to. Why does her lawyer want to wear a mic and move around the courtroom? So he can showboat, Leanne. He's going to put on a performance. I can tell. He was practicing moving around, getting his way in the court yesterday. He wants to wear a mic so he can get up on the jury and tell them what a horrible person the victim was in this case and how great. He's going to extol all of Sarah's virtues. He's going to be up there. Wow. But you know what I mean? I feel like he's going to try to showboat like the Southern gentleman that he is. Which I think is why, well, one of the many reasons why the state didn't want that mentioned in opening, because he's going to put on a show. But Mr. J did acknowledge he could talk about it not being presented later, but he was worried about not unringing that bell, right? Because if Owens goes ham on talking bad about George, then the state trying to rewind that is going to be hard. But I hope they will be taking notes. The issue is also the optics. Is it this even though George wasn't big. I feel like Owens is going to portray George as this big bad Hispanic man attacking this blonde, blue-eyed white woman, and she never stood a chance. So it's going to be up to the state to humanize George. And Sarah's going to do it all by herself to show that she's a monster, right? And now her insides or her outsides are starting to match her insides. I want to say the package is being revealed. Because she was super cute, like on that game show. Who would have thought she would have grown up to be a monster? I mean, maybe she was already in the making, but yeah, it was such a waste of a life. Australia, hey, detective. Is it Detective Woe Buffett? I thought lawyers wanted clients to look pitiful and crappy to get sympathy. Not always. Not always. I had a trial and it was like I had to go get a manicure and a pedicure before I was being sued by a landlord for violating my lease because this is how I got to New York. My high school sweetheart, we reconnected. He lived in San Francisco. He sold his house and moved to LA. It was right before the crash. And we knew we were going to move to New York shortly thereafter. What is the word when you reveal a secret? Spoiler alert. It didn't work. It didn't work out between us. But yeah, so they wanted us to look, preppy, so to speak, for the jury. So they do give you those like little hints. I think they want her to look softer. Optics are important. That's going to be their first impression of Sarah because she's not going up during the prosecution's case in chief, right? She's going to go up after the prosecution arrest. Prosecution will file for, defense will file for a dismissal saying that the state hasn't made their case. The judge will overrule that or knock it down, whatever the legal word is. And then they'll go into the defense's case in chief. And so that's going to be the first time they hear Sarah. So if they can manage her well, if she can just sit there and look, like a normal person, not too overly grieved because she's not a victim from what this has happened, even if she claims self-defense, she was victorious in whatever she had going on. Do you know what I mean? So she's going to have to strike that balance. It'll be interesting because the state's going to pull out everybody who had a negative experience with Sarah and get them to talk all about it on the witness stand, and Sarah has to sit there. So at that point, it's like gamesmanship that they're going to be doing, and then you get to the facts, and so the jury has to see through all of that. But we're all human. Like there's lots of data on how attractive people are more successful in life and blah blah blah. Just it's got to be because we react a certain way. So they're going to try to make her look as attractive as possible in a subdued way, not in like a va-va-voom way. Or the reverse. Now, Jody was very attractive and they had her downplay it, right? Because the prosecution was going to portray her as a vixen, a loose woman, a woman of ill repute. So they toned her down quite a bit, but she was still attractive. Dang, I'm a foodie and I didn't know about KFC. He also has demonstrative aids. Like what? Summa cum laude. What demonstrative aids is he going to use? I want to know. I can see him doing it. I just need a visual of like what he might have. I think Owens manipulates to get the answers he does not know instead of finding out for himself if forensics was done in the phone. Yeah. I mean, well, we learned yesterday from Cacciatore, it had not been done by the defense. But they had been approved for Swawiki, whatever, to do it. It just had never been done, which is, I was trying to find it in the court docket, but there was nothing submitted that it was completed, and it doesn't necessarily work like that. But Cacciatore, who knows the case really well, knew that it had not been completed. However, the state did it already, and they gave that to Sarah. And Owens is saying that Miss Boone thinks it's incomplete. So they're still going after that little Brady shenanigans. Like, why would they hide any of that information? Like, they don't care. That none of that has anything to do with what happened that day, especially when she was saying it was intentional. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, calm myself. He's just throwing darts, seeing what sticks, or more like spaghetti, but it's been way too much courtroom movies. Oh my God. I just get the sense he's that kind of lawyer. His first appearance looked like sweating to the oldies meets Matlock. Yes, I was expecting him to be younger from the pictures on his website. I think even one of my thumbnails, I put his head on like a buff body. I thought he was going to be about 10, 15 years younger. But hey, he's perfect for her. So they'll figure it out. A recap for those of us joining last minute. Yeah, so the judge is going to admit or allow the defense to go with the motion. So the state had filed like a motion to strike, right? So he granted it in part and he denied it in part. He is going to allow the state to have their own expert examine Sarah for battered spouse, but he is going to let the defense proceed with battered spouse. And he cited something from a specific trial, from a specific case that was appealed, and the appellate court found that the trial court erred in not letting the defense put that defense before the jury. So he's going to let it go before the jury, and then the triers of fact will get to decide if they feel like her response was that of one suffering from battered spouse syndrome. And then we talked about how it's going to be hard for her to overcome the not intentional. She said it on the 911 call. She said it on the body cam when the officer arrived. She said it for hours in the interrogation room, which is also why we believe he's trying to get that suppressed. But we doubt he'll be able to get it all suppressed. So that's what that's kind of the news. And then the rest of it is just like that interview, or I don't want to call it I guess assessment that the state's expert is going to do has to be completed by the 26th, and the hearing is 9 a.m. on the 26th. So we're guessing it'll probably be done the day before. And then there's something else that has to be done that night. Oh, reports. Any reports that Owen's experts are going to do need to be turned over to the state by the end of day on the 26th of September. And then by October 1, the state is going to depose Julie Harper. That's what you missed if you weren't here in the beginning. And on that note, if anybody's late, hopefully that makes sense and catches them up, because I'm going to go and try to get Sugar Bear a little bit early today. He was extra clingy this morning. So I was like, oh, because I was on with you guys, he needs extra hugs. So do you think the state saying she will likely need to testify in a narrative implies the defense knows she's... Yes, absolutely. Yes, Cheryl. And that's what I was asking. We need an attorney. Can he back her into it and say, I know you said these things initially that day, but can you, and the jury has heard that you said these things. Can you tell us why you said that? And then she'll probably be like, oh, I was scared. I thought I was going to get in trouble. Something. If that's possible, then she won't have to talk in a narrative. But if what she's going to do is totally go against that, I don't know, because Judge Kraynick does things his own way. I feel like in the Tellers case, part of it was he just wanted to do it on his own. But also his attorneys probably thought he was going to say some questionable things. I'm sure they had a script that if he would have stuck to, he would have been in the confines of truth. And he didn't want to do that. That's my 2 cents on that situation. I missed so many of them. I see. Yeah, like I said, I want to go get Sugar Bear because he needs some extra hugs, and maybe we'll stop and get a little treat for him on the way home since it's Friday. And, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll be editing. You'll see me this weekend. I just got to, spend some time with my little guy. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. Toodles. Talk to you guys later. Bye.